Just while I've got you there, Scott, Betty's called us in from Fitzgibbon. G'day, Betty.
Hi, how are you, Walter?
Hi, how do you feel about the Westfield thing?
It doesn't really worry me one way or the other because I wouldn't be there 3 hours probably on my own anyway. It's only if my daughter comes up from the coast. Well, that's a special treat, so you have to expect to pay something. Because if you go to the city to meet someone for lunch or something, you'd still have to pay parking in there or get public transport.
Well, we have to pay outrageous sums of money to park in the city. I deliberately avoided staying in the city today for just that reason, because you know in the back of your mind your meter's ticking over in your head.
All the time. Well, in Sydney, they've had this for about 4 years at every major shopping centre. All the Westfield shopping centres have got it.
But have they had a voucher system like Scott's describing, where
yes.
a validation system rather, where...
No.
No?
And they're Westfield shopping centres as well. There's no validation system. You just show a docket when you're coming out, and that will... you've already got a ticket that's got the time on it, and if you go over that time, you pay so much. But the reason that's done here, we've got the taxation office right opposite. And
yes.
all the office workers used to park there while they're at work.
Look, I don't doubt that we have commuters taking up genuine shopper car parks.
Spaces.
Absolutely.
But then you've got a bus terminus there as well. So people will drive there and park and go to town for the day on a 15-minute trip into the city. They do that. Then you have the Green Slopes Hospital bus that pick people up there. So those people park there and get on a bus and go to Green Slopes and come back. So that would be more than 4 or 5 hours.
So we've really got to make somewhere for commuters to go. And Scott, as I understand it, thank you, Betty.
Yep, thank you.
As I understand it, there's public transport park and ride facilities being built as we speak at Kedron and Lutwich. And that will help reduce the number of people who might park at Chermside to commute.
Well, Walter, that's right. I mean, people are taking actions to actually avert that. And I really don't want to see consumers and retailers suffer because Westfield want to use that as the scapegoat. There's a bigger issue to this. And, I mean, I'd say to Betty and to other listeners out there that regardless of whether or not you've been accustomed in other states to paying for parking, it's not on here.
It doesn't make it right, does it?
No, it doesn't. And people have built their businesses. You've got to understand, consumers often think that retailers are just the shop. Retailers are people, and most of them, a lot of them are family-owned businesses. So, I mean, they've built their business around the current goalposts with the lay of the land being as it is. Now, Section 43 of the Retail Shop Leases Act actually prohibits lease owners, people like Westfield's, actually going out there and making changes that actually can disadvantage or change the nature of the patronage that goes past their shop or indeed into the centre as a whole. This is going to have that effect. I mean, you don't get Facebook websites with 8,500 people after a few days if there's not a passionate opposition to this. And I mean, we don't want to see these people walking away from this shopping centre. And I mean, if it takes us as the Retailers Association out there trying to save Westfield from themselves, well, so be it. But I don't want to see the carnage in the short term where retailers get churned through because they've built their business around the fact that they knew there was accessible, free consumer parking surrounding the centre when they went into business.
So what you're saying, Scott, is that those retailers, those who have a lease agreement with Westfield, have possibly a leg to stand on from an agreement they've already signed.
We'll make sure they do, Walter. I mean, I'm about to send a letter off this evening via fax to the centre manager over there highlighting perhaps some of the things they may not have considered, and certainly the Shop Leases Act is one of them, or taking a collective bargaining action under the provisions of the ACCC. Westfield are not going to get away with this without a fight. We're going to make sure that consumers and retailers are protected, genuine consumers that are out there going about their business, and, there might be people from Sydney who are used to doing this down there, but, last I looked, this is Queensland, this is a suburban Brisbane shopping centre built on the fact that retailers have invested out there, they've built businesses out there, they're very popular around what they're doing, and that's in the interest of Westfield collecting on their leases. We don't want to see that ruined. For the community.
So maybe in some degrees, in defence of Westfield Chermside, they are a victim of their own success for booming as they are into such a huge shopping centre, and also a victim of a lack of infrastructure created by state governments over the years.
Oh, Walter, look, there is absolutely no doubt that the state government, council should probably be doing a whole lot more to facilitate the push that they're making towards transportation hubs, etc. But, you know, let's make no mistake, Westfield is a very powerful, very knowing corporation that have very deliberately grown their business there in Chermside. They are the only Westfields that are in the state that actually have the sort of extended shopping hours, the 36 hours straight that they put in around this time of year. So, you know, they've gone about this very deliberately, and I think this was part of the bigger plan that they'd have known for some time.
Scott, we've got another caller here. It's Eric from Kalanga. Good evening, Eric. Are you a Westfield Chermside shopper?
Oh, I have been in the past, mate, yes.
And how do you feel about paying for your parking?
Look, I've got no problem with that at all. I tell you why, because it's all got to come back to politics. These people voted Kevin Rudd in, and those who weren't really fully aware of what he could do, this is the penalty that they have to pay. The Australian people got the government they deserved. And since March, when he got first put into power, everything's gone down. And the people who voted for Labor are getting everything that they deserved for voting for him.
Sorry, Eric, what's the connection between K-Rudd and parking at Westfield Chermside?
Well, it's got to do with everything, because once Westfield's hierarchy knew that Kevin Rudd was going to make the country worse, they jumped on and said, oh, look, there's an opening. They said that. They did that to the Myer car parking centre in Sydney, in the city. You're paying $45 for a trip into that now.
Tell me about it.
Because they know that they can do it. And they're just going to say, well, Kevin Rudd's not helping the country.
I think that might be just a sign of the times, though. I don't think necessarily, but, you know, regardless of whether it's Liberal or Labor in power, Eric, I think that it was a sign of the times that parking in general, I mean, we've had it pretty good in Brisbane up until now, and now it's coming into line with the rest of the country, unfortunately. But we're paying Sydney prices and Melbourne prices.
Oh, it is unfortunate, and I do feel bad, because I work in the city. I know what happens, the amount of people that's not going to the city now because of it.
Oh, exactly.
But I'm just sitting back laughing because the country's gone down because these people voted for that person.
All right, mate. Thanks for your call.
Yeah, thank you.
Eric Kalanga, and yeah, he's prepared to pay the parking there, which is interesting. Look, we'll just wrap this up tonight, Scott. Basically, you're saying that maybe consumers can vote with their feet.
Yeah, Walter, I mean, I'm not one to jump to the defence of Kevin Rudd quite often, but I've got to say on this one, this is all about corporate greed. We can't pin this one on Kevin.
I couldn't see the connection. It was a very loose bow, wasn't it? Very long one. All right, mate, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Walter.
Appreciate your time. Scott Driscoll, the head man for the Retailers Association, and just giving us the retailer side of things on paying to park at Westfield Chermside. You can call and talk about that or anything else tonight on 13 13 32. Thanks, Scott.